feel like every time I wear red lipstick that people look at me like, ugh, here comes a girl that never wears red lipstick and she's wearing red lipstick. What a loser. And it's true. You can tell. Because I feel like a clown. Without further ado, let's get into my July reads. Now, I'm not someone that can read like 20 books in a month. I don't know if you see those people on TikTok and they do their like, I read these books this month and there's 15 freaking books. Okay, maybe you are just better than me. Maybe you are. But also maybe you're a liar. Who has that much time to read? If I'm trying to like read a lot, I'm having to do at least one audiobook in there because I just have too much going on. I don't know how people read and like, oh, but this is my hobby. Okay. All right. Relax. I read 3 books this month on my little Kindy Windy. Hashtag not sponsored, but Kindle. Kindle. If you want to sponsor me, how embarrassing. Look into my eyes. I love my Kindle. I actually do love my Kindle. All jokes aside. Love my Kindle. So I only converted to Kindle maybe like a year ago. Prior to that, I was like one of those people that's like, no, I want the hard copy of the book. I love to smell my books. Oh, shut up. No one likes you. No one thinks you're cool. Anywho, I converted to Kindle because it was causing a strain probably on my relationship, the amount of books I was bringing home. Like we were running out of space fast and my partner was like, have you read half of these? And I was like, what? Shut up. The agreement was get a Kindle. I got it for Christmas. I made the agreement to myself that if I loved the books that I was reading on Kindle, if I loved the book, I would get a physical copy from my library and I would do my best to thrift that copy. So like secondhand books, they are my go-to. And it kind of makes it fun trying to find so I've got like a little list in my phone and I'm always trying to find like whenever I go somewhere, if there's a secondhand bookstore or there's like a thrift shop, I go and try and find the book that I really, really loved. And I love the idea that it's pre-owned because I love when people write their names inside their books or they write like a little letter if it's a gift. That's like, I love that. I think it's so cool. With that being said, the 3 books that I read this month, I have 2 hard copies and I'm still waiting on my third to be found, I suppose. They All Die Screaming by Kristopher Triana. A.L. Rojo's 4th installment, The Pride of Farrowline, in her Farrowline series. And I also read I Who Have Never Known Man by Jacqueline Harpman. I'm still waiting on my copy to find. Well, I don't know if I'll find my copy of that in the wild, to be honest. That's going to be a crazy one. I definitely could not find a copy of They All Died Screaming in a secondhand bookstore because I'm pretty sure this was written by the devil himself. Okay, little backstory on this. I was up one night, could not sleep, and I was obviously doom scrolling through TikTok, and I came across this person that had recommended this book on BookTok. They were like, couldn't put it down, you know, oh my gosh, apocalyptic horror, blah, 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 whatever. And I was like, oh, I love apocalyptic horror. So I, decided I was going to read this book. And I, in my defense, I looked at other TikToks on this book and there was one person that gave a trigger warning and they said it so casually. They said, oh yeah, all the trigger warnings. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, little did I know. Little did this little girl know in this little brain of hers at 2 a.m. Little did she know that I was essentially led down a dark path. Okay? I didn't know that when I was reading these reviews or watching these reviews on TikTok that I was on the extreme horror side of TikTok. Okay? I didn't know. I was in enemy territory. Okay? I like a scary book. I don't like a messed up scary book. Okay? This book is, 250 pages long or something? 200 pages long. 200 pages, very thin, very thin. Read it in a day, right? People weren't lying when they said they couldn't put it down. I too couldn't put it down, but not from like, ooh, what's gonna happen next? But from like, oh, I opened it and I've been cursed to never be able to put it down until I get to the last page. This book was crazy. It had the most messed up stuff in it. This is not me recommending it, okay? First and foremost, this is not me recommending it. This is me warning you that this exists in the world. Now, I will preface that with I will say that I did not realize it was extreme horror. And there are people that like to consume extreme horror. And I think that's fine. But I think maybe they should be on a list that's overseen by the government. Okay? Anyone that read this and went, oh, I loved it. Name, number, address. Thank you. That's all I'm saying. You should have to hand all of that over in order to be able to access this material. Because what is going on in the mind of Kristopher Triana? I don't know. And I don't want to know. Sir, I don't want to know. I had to tell my fiance and my roommate in explicit detail what I was reading in this book because I was so haunted by it. And I couldn't tell any of my friends because they are all mothers. Okay? And a mother should not be exposed to what the heck is in this book. I tell you that freaking much. I bet it's piqued your interest now. I bet you're curious. And it's only 200 pages long, so you're probably like, well, I can do it in a day. I did it in a day. Sure. But at what cost? At what cost? On to happier times. The Pride of Farrowline. Now, something about this book series. I'm not necessarily someone that's into like spicy. You know, people are like, oh, lots of spice, chilies, da da da. That's not really my vibe. I will say that. It's not really my vibe. In saying that, I can get on board with a good spicy book, okay? I could do a whole video on these if you guys wanted me to. But essentially, they're by this author, A.L. Rojo. She's an indie author, so like publishes her own stuff. She's got this series, this Farrowline series, that looks at it's a shifter series. These people that can transform into wolves, and they belong to a pack, and it's the pack of Farrowline. Farrowline is this place that they all come from. When I first read the first book in this series, it like opened up a little part of my heart. That was when I read the Twilight books, I was Team Jacob. Okay, a little bit about me. I was Team Jacob, because when someone is described as being as warm as the sun, how are you not picking them? And I was the only person in my friendship group that was Team Jacob. Everyone else, Team Edward. Why Team Edward? He's cold. He's ice freaking cold. I don't do cold, all right? I want the sun. I want to have a little electric blanket next to me everywhere I go. I was Team Jacob, and I loved the whole like werewolf pack and everything like that. Like I loved that they were like this family. And anyway, I obviously as a child read all the fan fiction in the world. All of my fan fiction was Team Jacob fan fiction of like, oh, found family trope. I live with the wolves. Like that was I loved that. I stumbled upon this book series as an adult, and I read the first book and it tapped into that little Team Jacob part of my heart, okay? There's a lot in this series, a lot of like found family kind of trope, and I love that. And I will say, while this does get advertised as like spicy shifter romance and all that kind of stuff, it doesn't just prioritize, it doesn't just center the adult scenes, if that makes sense. The author really, you can tell that she cares deeply about the development of these characters, because she's not just focusing on like necessarily the romantic aspects of the story. There's very clearly a larger arc at play. I don't know how many books she's expecting to release in this series, but you can sense this like this thread that's weaving all the stories together. And something I really, really like, and I think is super underrated with indie authors, is that when you find a good one and you go back and read their first work and you kind of follow them along as they release more, you see them, like, their writing just improve. And I think it's like from a place of confidence. Like, you can tell that they're just so much more confident. They know their style, they know their characters. And by the time they get into their third, fourth, fifth, whatever book that they've released, even if it's not in the same series, it's you, like, the writing just develops so much. And I just think that's really cool. And I think in this day and age where it's becoming more accessible for people to self-publish, that's like a really unspoken, like, people don't talk about how cool that aspect of reading and following an author's work is. And it's like one of my favorite things. So I've been following along since the first book of this series was published. And I can, like, confidently say that every single book is getting better and better in this series. So essentially you're following different members of the pack, and each book focuses either on like a member of the pack, or it focuses on like the mate that ends up with a member in the pack, kind of thing. And yeah, like, it's just really, I really enjoy it. They're short chapters and short books, very, very easy to read. You can easily read it in a day, and they're all this sort of size, which I really love. As you're getting further and further into more books, it's really just fleshing out that wolf pack that they're a part of. Yeah, you just have such a soft spot for these characters that this author's writing about. And this after I read this crazy thing, this was like coming home to like a warm hug. It was nice. It was so nice. This is my favorite one that she's written so far, might I add. I don't want to give too much away because I think more people need to read this series. Yeah, I don't want to give too much away. If you're looking for something that is like, every time you read these books, you just feel like you're like wrapped up in a giant hug. Like, it just feels so familiar. Yeah, I would say it feels familiar would be the way that I say it. Like, and I don't know if it's because, again, I was so deeply Team Jacob that this is like, I spent years after reading Twilight as a 12-year-old just searching for that feeling again, and then not getting it until I was like 29. But I do. I love these series, and I devoured this month. Absolutely loved it. The third book that I read on my Kindy Windy was I Who Have Never Known Men. I saw it recommended a lot on TikTok. Again, a trap, but I Who Have Never Known Men was fantastic. Okay, I loved it. I did see there was this like discourse on there of people saying like, oh, is this feminist literature? Because it's about a group of women that are like trapped in a bunker together. Essentially, the story is there's, I think it's like 39 women or something are trapped in this bunker, and one girl. So there's 40 all up. There's like all grown women of various ages, and then one little girl. And they all wake up in the bunker, and they don't really remember being captured, and they don't really know why they're down there. The older women have memory of their lives prior to whatever happened that trapped them down there. And this young girl doesn't really have a memory because she didn't really have a life before she was put down in this bunker. No one knows why she's down there. And they're being like drugged, so they don't really remember what's going on, and they've got no freedoms. They live in a cell all together, and they've just got to kind of make do. So, you know, they're like sewing clothes out of rags, and they're using hair to sew the clothing because they're just not given anything, and how they cook and how they operate in day-to-day life. And essentially it just follows the story of this young girl as she grows into a woman, and what it means to be a woman. And it's quite an introspective book where there's just passages and passages of this main character's sense of finding herself in the world, and looking at how she fits in this community of women, and what that means to her. She listens to them talk about the old world, but she has no connection to that because she didn't experience any of that. She has no working memory of that, sorry. So it's funny. It's almost elements. She's so disconnected, and she just doesn't experience the same ties to certain life events that women do. So she talks a lot about how she's, you know, destined to be a virgin for the rest of her life. And so I do see people talking a lot about, oh, this is feminist literature, it's feminist literature. It's not necessarily. If anything, it just explores this weighted feeling of otherness. This girl constantly feels like she's on the outside looking in, and these people won't grant her access to this club they belong to, and she doesn't understand why. There's this invisible wall that I just can't penetrate, and she experiences extreme frustration and yeah, it's all like, just, I guess, how people have been socialized. You know, this girl wasn't socialized in the traditional sense back in the old world. She was socialized in a bunker underground with a bunch of women who don't see the merit in like teaching her about the old world. They don't see the merit in teaching her, for example, about her body. She goes for an element, like she, up to a certain point, she goes through puberty and then she stops. She never gets a period. So she's sitting there going, I don't understand what's going on. These women are menstruating, and she doesn't understand what that is, but they don't see the point in explaining it to her because, one, they're probably super freaking depressed that they're locked in this cage. But two, they don't know what the world is anymore. So they're going, well, how much is it? Do we bother teaching you about this? Because you'll never have to worry about getting pregnant because you'll never sleep with a man, right? They don't know. They argue about whether they should teach her arithmetic, basic arithmetic, because what does she need to count for when there's no clocks, there's no time of day, there's no money to be spent, there's no bills to pay, there's nothing. Like, what is the point? I think it's just a nihilistic book. I think it's extreme nihilism. And it's basically just what do you fill your days with when you don't know the length of day, you don't know how many you have left, and you don't even know why you're in the place that you're in the place of. Like, what's the point? That was just resounding throughout this whole book, was just, what is the point of this? And I don't say that as in I wasn't reading it going, why the hell am I reading this? I was gripped. It was a short read. Again, all my books this month were of very similar sizes, like around the 200 to 300 page, which is the only reason I managed to read 3 books this month. I'm gonna be honest with you, because next month it'll be 1 book, because I cannot read quickly. But yeah, it gripped me for the whole 250 pages or whatever it was. I would probably put that as my favorite read this month. I would go, just because of how much it shocked me. Like, there really wasn't a great deal of action in the story, but just reading this girl's thoughts and her trying to piece together who she is and how she fits in this world that she finds herself in was so depressing. I'm going to be honest with you, I was so depressed. But it was beautifully written. So it shocked me how much I actually loved that book and how much it sat with me. And I think I'll be thinking about it for a very, very, very long time. Wouldn't surprise me if I go back and reread it at some point, because, like, I know I've missed stuff. Some things have just gone straight over my head. So I would rank I Who Have Never Known Men as my first, The Pride of Farrowline as my number 2, because she saved me from a deep depression when I read, and I don't want to put it on my scale, on my little ranking here, but I have to. They All Died Screaming. Depression pit, and not in like the, wow, I've learned something about myself and now I'm depressed. Not that way. In the way of, like, people think like this and I share the world with them. And those are my rankings. That's what I read this month. What have you guys been reading? Leave me a comment. I'm always looking for new stuff to read. And as much as I sit there and say, like, oh, I'm not into this and I'm not into that, I will read anything. I will read anything. My little kindy windy, she needs a workout. Okay? So send me your recommendations, please, so I can fill this bad boy up. Actually, she's a girl. There are no boys here. Just girls. Because a boy would do this. A boy would do this. Yes, I did buy the physical copy. You're probably asking, well, I thought you only buy things that you like. That book did something to me that I felt the need to have a copy to keep my eye on it, just in case it went anywhere else in this world to hurt someone. One less book on a shelf for someone else to hurt themselves with. I can't explain it, guys. It's seriously... I'm just a person. I'm just a girl. I just have a job and I just have a life. And then I read that book and now I'm like... Maybe I'll go back and reread The Pride of Farrowline, because maybe it didn't quite cleanse my soul the way I thought it did. Dreadful. I can't. I actually can't. But anyway, those were my books. That's what I read in the month of July. Let me know what you guys are reading, because I'm down for some recommendations. That's my slipper. I wear them every single time I film because the room I'm in is frozen. And in the summertime, it'll be boiling. And that is the struggle of my life. There are people dying in this world. I'll be fine. But yeah, let me know what you're reading because I want to read it too. Don't read it. City, I'm moving to Saskatchewan.